but they also have the second worst passing attack in all of football because of him. And if you know coming into games, particularly against better competition, that you're going to have trouble throwing the foot, he's going to have trouble throwing the football, that puts you at a decided advantage as a defense. They've lost 3 of their last 4 games. I got news for y'all. 4 of their last 6 games, he hasn't even completed 60% of his passes. Let's go down the list here. He completed 51% of his passes against Cincinnati, 59% against Philadelphia, 46% of his passes against Pittsburgh, okay? And 58% of his passes against Tennessee yesterday. He doesn't throw the football effectively enough. Now, he's not the only one at fault. If you're John Harbaugh, you've got to get him some additional weapons. You've got to, from a schematics perspective, you've got to do things a little bit better, be a bit more innovative. As Dan Orlovsky and others said this morning, there's no fear factor other than him running the football. There's no real fear factor, and that's not just about him. That's about Harbaugh. And as an aside, by the way, I don't know how the rest of y'all felt, but to me, John Harbaugh, you've been in this league for many, many years. You're class personified. You might not have liked certain things that Tennessee was willing to do at the beginning of the game, going out to midfield, but refusing to shake Vrabel's hand at the end of the game. That was kind of weak in a loss. You didn't have to go there. I think that was classless on his part. I'd like to say that. But outside of that, what it comes down to is that I'm looking at a guy like Lamar Jackson. He's 23 years of age. Yes, he's got 2 issues, guys. One is throwing the football. You know what the other one is? You're 23 years old. There's one thing, Ryan, please help me out here if you can or if you choose to. There is one thing for folks to look at you and revere you and praise you over your electrifying talent. But at 23 years of age, even though he might be too young to expect this, when you're the quarterback, you've got to have some leadership ability, meaning being able to galvanize the troops around you. Obviously, I'm not holding it against him, but so much because he's only 23. But I need that from my quarterback. And I don't see him as a guy capable of doing that yet. I see the respect they have for him and his greatness. I see them looking at him and marveling over that. But in terms of him being able to get in other guys' faces, holding folks accountable, making sure that the parts around you are all doing their job, his youth comes shining through to me in that regard. That's all I have to say about that right now.
I heard him say that they wanted it more than us. I think that's pretty much that's leadership. He's that's kind of doing what you're talking about
during the game, Max.
I'm
talking about during the game.
I hear you. I'm not worried about Lamar Jackson yet, because not all progress is linear. It's not always just going to follow a smooth trajectory upward, right? At the age of 21, he was the most accurate passer in the history of the NFL. That doesn't mean it's going to be the case at the age of 23. And by the way, he got tremendous credit, of course, but so did Harbaugh, and so did Greg Roman.
I'm only talking about this season, Max.
In terms of, I got you, but it's in the context of his career. In terms of the offensive schemes they used and everything. But what do I always say about Sean McVay and the Rams, right? If you do these incredible things and you're innovating, it's a parlor trick if you can't make adjustments, because believe me, the league, the world is going to adjust to you. The world has adjusted to the Ravens offense, right? They're not going to give them anything in the middle of the field. They're going to try and stop the outside runs. They're going to make them, hit on the vertical passing game outside the numbers. They're going to make them do those things. And he's going to have to show the ability not to pull it off, but to do it consistently, which he hasn't yet done. Now it's on Greg Roman and Jim Harbaugh, right? And by the way, we also give Ozzie Newsome tremendous credit, right? Because they remade the team and didn't try to fit a square peg in a round hole. So now they have to take the next step. Now in year 3, they have to, okay, these are the adjustments that are being made. Now we got to adjust back to them. And so does Lamar. Lamar has to show the ability to throw outside the numbers and down the field with consistency, with accuracy. Now, his offensive line isn't what it was last year, right? They're banged up. Guys have left. They're retired, all that kind of stuff. And that plays a part. And by the way, if he can't do what he needs to do, throwing the ball down the field, then it's on the coaching staff. Okay, he's not good at that. How can we manipulate this? Because there are plenty of quarterbacks that have a hole in their game. How can we manipulate this in such a way as to bring out the best in him? And you can even win a Super Bowl that way. So I think that it is fair to say, let's analyze what's going on. But given the fact that the league is adjusted and now it's their time to adjust back, this sometimes happens, and I'm not ready to start panicking on Lamar.
You know what? I agree with Max. And Max did something during his explanation or during his answer that I appreciated. Instead of calling John Harbaugh, he called him Jim. And that's important for this reason, because he mentioned Greg Roman and Jim Harbaugh.
Did I say Jim?
Let's think back to two. Yeah, but that's good, though. I needed that. Listen, I got you. I'm going to pick it up right where you left off. Let's think back to 2011 through 2014, when Greg Roman was with Jim Harbaugh, and they had an opportunity to get Colin Kaepernick. Do you remember what happened? It was this amazing talent, and they ran offense in a way we'd never really seen in this league, and the league couldn't catch up to it. 160 yards against the Green Bay Packers in the playoffs. You get to the Super Bowl. You're actually 4 downs away from winning it in the red zone against the Baltimore Ravens, and the next year you're really good again, and you go to the NFC Championship. And then people adjusted. So what's the second act? What are you going to learn to do, not only from the quarterback position, but from a schematics position, from a strategy position? What are you going to change about the way that you approach football? What are you going to change about the way that you align skill players with Lamar Jackson? Are you going to go out and actually get him a number one and say, okay, if you struggle throwing outside of the numbers, let me get you somebody that can help you do that. Let me get you someone that can win 50-50 balls, where you don't have to be incredibly accurate, where you don't have to be right on the money, where you can't have a large catch radius. And so now it's time for the team to help Lamar Jackson. When I watched this team yesterday, they have the fastest quarterback in football, but the offense looks slow. The motions are slow. The routes develop slow. The misdirections don't misdirect anymore. And so now it is time for sure. Lamar Jackson has to be better. But the things that Lamar Jackson is struggling with are things we already knew. So if we know him, why doesn't Greg Roman and Coach Harbaugh know him? And the last thing I'm going to say and give it back to you guys, I don't mind John Harbaugh being mad. If you come stand in the middle of my field, if you have a team meeting in the middle of the field, I should be able to get to walk out and tell you what I think. And then after the game, we ain't got to be friends. That's not a rule. You don't get fined for not shaking hands. The only thing I'm mad about John Harbaugh walking out to the middle of the field was that he had to walk out by himself. That the Tennessee Titans were ready to go to war before the game and nobody came with their coach.
Hold on, Ryan.
So when I hear Lamar Jackson say they wanted more, that to me says a lot, because it seemed like they wanted it more from the beginning of the game, and it didn't matter what kind of smoke it was.
Ryan Clark, before I retort, just for clarification, was Vrabel at midfield with the team, or was that just his players?
Vrabel, it was just the players. Vrabel ended up coming out, though. They talked before the game. They had interaction before the game. And
basically I'm making the assumption, and the key word is assumption, that the players decided to do that on their own, and then obviously John Harbaugh came out there, so Vrabel came out there. I'm assuming he didn't know that and he didn't participate in it. It's just that once John Harbaugh came out to midfield, Vrabel came out there as well. But that's neither here nor there. What I would say to you is this. I'm right about this, guys, because the question is it time to worry about Lamar? I said yes. Y'all just gave me reasons why. I talked about Lamar, but I also talked about John Harbaugh. I never brought up Greg Roman, but the fact is he's a part of it too. If the head coach and the offensive coordinator aren't doing things schematically, aren't doing things motivationally to really inspire your quarterback and that offense around him, then that would be a strong cause for concern. And that was the question. I answered it.
But there is a transitional period, an adjustment period, I think that we're witnessing, or that I question, how are they going to respond? You're not just going to go 25-4, whatever it was, against the league forever. No one's ever going to do that. Mahomes won't do that. So eventually they're going to make adjustments, and then the question is, can you adjust back? That's what we're up to. The league